with disaster occurrences and natural catastrophic events such as tsunamis, cyclones, and storms and have affected coastal areas. I'm sure that this conversation will lead to innovative ideas to mitigate and adapt to the intensity, frequency, and the cost of disasters, along with building regional, national, and local capacities to provide assistance to the affected states. Today, before we begin the session officially, I would like to invite Mr. P.K. Hormuz-Tharagan, advisor to CPPR, to speak a few words and felicitate the Kerala Fire and Rescue Services for the commendable job at Brahmapuram.
Dear friends, a large number of us in this audience are from outside Cochin and Kerala who are visiting us and taking part in this seminar and enriching us with their knowledge of various aspects of the issues that we are discussing. But the other half are residents of Cochin who have undergone an experience very relevant to the theme of this session. Just in the last week, we have a waste disposal management system here for the city of Cochin at a place called Brahmapuram, just outside the city, which went into a huge blaze a couple of weeks back, in fact engulfing the entire city in a thick black cloud of smoke. It was a disaster in every sense of the term. And the only one branch of the government which came out with flying colors in this entire episode was the Kerala Fire Services Department. A senior officer of his department, Mr. Reni Lucas, is present here today. I think it's his department, headed by an extremely efficient lady IPS officer called Sandhya, deserves a lot of credit for having dealt with the situation so efficiently. So let us give him an ovation on behalf of the citizens of Cochin for the grand job that they did. We shall look forward to his, first-hand experience of dealing with a disaster in the course of this session, where we are discussing disaster management, where our Japanese counterparts can give us a lot of insights. We are aware about the natural, disasters and hazards that they has been facing for centuries, and we have much to learn from them. So we look forward to a very productive and informative session. Thank you.
Thank you, Tharagan sir, for your valuable words. To begin the session officially, I would now like to introduce the chair of the session, Ms. Neelima A., Research Associate at CPPR. Neelima holds a postgraduate degree in MA Geopolitics and International Relations from Manipal Academy of Higher Education. I would like to welcome Neelima to the session. Next, I would like to welcome the panelists of this session. Firstly, I would like to welcome Dr. Harikumar, Regional Coordinator of South Asia at Geohazards International. I welcome you, sir. Secondly, I would like to welcome Noriko Sakurai-san, Project Formulation Advisor, JICA India. I welcome you, ma'am. Thirdly, I would like to welcome Mr. Reni Lucas, Assistant Director, Kerala Fire and Rescue Services Academy, Thrissur. I welcome you, sir. With this, I would like to hand over the proceedings to Ms. Neelima. Kindly take over, Neelima.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. Good evening to all the vibrant participants present here. So we all know that the Indo-Pacific littorals are replete with occurrences of natural disaster and other natural catastrophic events, which include tsunamis, cyclones, storms, etc. So this has actually necessitated an advanced understanding and practices in disaster risk management, as also building regional, national, and local capacities to provide assistance to the affected states. Hence, disaster risk management and disaster risk reduction are high on the agenda of the international communities, and also it has actually nurtured a level of multilateral cooperation among states. We all know that India and Japan are both countries which are prone to natural disasters at frequent intervals. And in the year 2023, which is special for both India and Japan, as both are chairing G20 and G7, I think this will open new tenets of cooperation in the domain of disaster risk management. So actually, in the present times, disaster risk management has gained a lot of increased focus because we are conquering a lot of natural disasters as well as man-made disaster. One of the examples which I could tell now is the Brahmapuram incident itself, which is happening right now in Kochi, Kerala. And also, we have several mechanisms at present, which includes Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure, which is led by India. And as a continuum to the Sendai framework that was adopted in 2015, the mechanism like CDRI, in which India and Japan are both part, actually seek to target the disaster risk management with objectives to promote research and knowledge sharing in the field of infrastructure risk management, standards, financing, and recovery mechanisms. So, also in 2017, we all know that Japan and India has signed an MOC on cooperation in disaster risk reduction, under which several bilateral workshops have been held, and cooperation between research institutions and private sectors have also been promoted. So in this context, this session will explore the best practices which we can find in disaster risk management at present, and also we'll look beyond and explore the avenues where we can actually find cooperation between India and Japan in this domain. I would like to welcome our speakers to the session. So the first speaker will be Mr. Reni Lucas. He is an Assistant Director of Kerala Fire and Rescue Services Academy in Thrissur. He has been inducted into Fire and Rescue Services as a station officer and is now working as a District Fire Officer in Fire and Rescue Service Academy. And our other speaker will be Dr. Hari Kumar. He is a Regional Coordinator for South Asia in Geohazards International. He is a civil engineer with more than 34 years of experience in the field of safe shelter, disaster risk management, and earthquake risk reduction. As regional coordinator for South Asia, he is responsible for Geohazard International's work in India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar. And finally, our third speaker is Ms. Noriko Sakurai. She's a project formulation advisor, Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA's India's office. So she joined JICA India office in the year 2021 as a project formulation advisor on disaster risk reduction sector, and having more than 10 years of experience in supporting and encouraging central, state, and municipal governments to build resilient DRM system and society, including establishment of early warning system, strengthening emergency response, promotion of nature-based solution, and flood management, etc. So now I would like to hand over the stage to Mr. Reni Lucas for his presentation.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Homi sir, for your kind words. I'm happy to hear those good words. I'm not a good speaker in English, and if any words for misspelled, please do bear with me. Okay, I'm working in Kerala Fire and Rescue Service Department, and I am proud of my department because I am standing here after I have accomplished that Brahmapuram fire, and we have completed the fire within 12 days. And if you go to the history of other fires, for the waste dump yard fires, if you go to the history of the waste dump yard fires in Delhi, they took approximate 1 or 2 months to put out the fire. And there were histories in Newark where we have communicated with the district fire chiefs, and their waste dumping yards have been under fire for the last 6 months, and they were not able to put out the fire completely. And there I stand as a proud member of Kerala Fire and Rescue Service that we are able to put out the fire within 12 days. And my men were very, very efficient. They didn't care for their health, anything. Round the clock they were working. So I'm going to my presentation. Before that, just a question for you. Are we safe here? Yeah, of course. Forget about me. Are we safe here? Everything seems to be safe. But no one is safe. We are living in a false sense of security. One thing, if any catastrophe happens here, if suppose a fire happens here, do you know what is the emergency exit of this hall? Do you know what is the exit path you have to take if any catastrophic happens here? Do you know where is the first aid firefighting equipments or the fixed firefighting installations are there in the hotel? Do you know where you can get the first aid box, where you can use the first aid medicines to administer a first aid for any of your colleagues who are going to meet any of the accidents? And can you just assess whether your smoke detectors are functioning or not? So everything seems to be safe, but we are not safe. We are living in a false sense of security. So before going there, I'm just straight away going into my presentation. And my department is Kerala Fire and Rescue Service Department. And we are the first responders to any of the emergencies. And we are headed by the Director General of Police, and presently, Srimati Dr. B. Sandhya IPS, the second lady IPS officer of Kerala Police, is heading our department. And we are saving the state of Kerala with 129 fire stations, with a span of 14 districts. We have 9 regional span of control and 3 training academies, and the Fire and Rescue Service Academy 1, which is training the executive people of my department. The second thing is IITWR, Institute of Advanced Training and Water Rescue Academy, which was a gift after the 2018 flood by the government of Kerala. We have been training our people for deep divings and for all of the water rescue related activities. And then we have the second thing is the Civil Defense Academy, which was also the gift of government after the 2018 floods. Because we were able to use the manpower, we are able to use the dedicated volunteers of our state to deal with all the exigencies. And that is where the civil defense was so important to us, even in the Brahmapuram fire. About 665 civil defense volunteers, just like the common people, without any remunerations or honorarium or without expecting anything, they were working in the ground zero smoke chambers when every one of you were sitting away from Brahmapuram site in a clean and safe place, breathing more or less safe air. And the disaster management mechanism of state is run by Kerala State Disaster Management Academy, with the Kerala State managing State Disaster Management Authority at the state level. And the district level, we have the DDMAs and the Incident Responder System. District Collector is the chairperson for the DDMAs. And the main activities of my department is firefightings, rescue operations in all emergencies, fire and emergency preventions, building inspections for fire safety point of view, awareness creation through classes, demonstrations, mock drills, etc. Then the new system, which which other states can copy from Kerala state, is the safety beat system. Just like the police department having their beat officers, we have the safety beat officers spreading across Kerala. They'll go to different locations in different local self-government wards. They will identify the unsafe acts and unsafe conditions, and they'll report to the concerned authorities to rectify it. And we have the water rescue and awareness team and the road safety team, where we will go visit the places, the black spots, where the largest number of accidents or the major road accidents has happened, review the positions, what are the necessary things to be communicated, addressed in order to avoid major road accidents at the same sites. And then we have the diving team, which have been well established after the 2018 floods. Earlier, the department was responding to mere firefightings, but after that, we came to know that mere firefighting or attending any emergency calls does not bring the positive safety culture, what we see in the Western countries. So now we focus on the fire prevention activities, which includes mass awareness classes, prevention activities, inspection activities, Thereby, we are able to create the safety culture, positive safety culture in the society, so that everyone feels that safety is everyone's responsibilities, and everyone should feel that we have to contribute much to a developed India, so as to make our country a developed one. And public are encouraged to use firefighting extinguishing mechanisms and basic life saving techniques. And we are now planning training sessions for academies, so that public people can come and learn the basic life saving techniques, the BLS modules, because we have gone through many instances through the newspapers that many of our children are dying due to choking. They are playing in their Anganwadis, they are eating just peanuts and all those food materials, and you cannot stop children speaking during their play or laughing during their play. And we have come across many incidents where many of our children has choked to death because of this lack of training for the Anganwadi teachers or the pre-primary school teachers. So Kerala Fire and Rescue Service Academy is coming forward with another training module, so that we can extend our helping hand, our training techniques to the local public, so that they can act in case of an emergency, just like chokings or any other similar things. And public is also encouraged to identify the unsafe conditions around them. And what are the major activities we have been as that Kerala floods? That was the changing phase for the Kerala Fire and Rescue Services. What has happened in 2018, August first week, there were slight rains, but by August 8, the rain intensified. By August 14 to August 18, the downpour was very high. And during that season, usually we expect 98.5 centimeter of rainfall. But in 2018, Kerala witnessed about 385 centimeter of rains, and there was massive floods across Kerala. Only 2 to 3 district has been, certain parts of 2 to 3 district has been spared from the catastrophe of these floods. And so that every agency has stepped in, and we are able to do a tremendous jobs, and Kerala government has recognized our efforts and has awarded with us a meritorious certificate. And then after 2018, floods were common to us. In 2019, we have floods, and Puttumala accident and Kaulapara accidents happened in 2019 as a part of the landslides and floods. And floods and landslides of 2020, and the aircraft incident in Calicut in 2020, flood and landslides of 2021, there in Kootikal, there was a landslide, and then comes the COVID 2019, and after that we have the Brahmapuram fire in Kochi in 2023. And these are the floods, these are the images from the floods of 2018. And what was happened there, that entire state was under flood, and it was the professionalism and the well-coordination activities and the state controlling mechanisms that we are able to limit the death toll to below 485. The official declaration of number of deaths that happened in 2018 was only 485. But if you compare to the other states or any other flood situations, you cannot find such a small figure. We have worked, and all the entire agencies of Kerala, the KSTMA, the police department, the fire department, the navy, the army, the coast guards, and the Kerala's own army, the fishermen community has done a tremendous job in mitigating the flood effects, and it was a tremendous job, and we were able to limit the death toll below 485. And these are the first responders. Fire and Rescue Service and police were the first responders, and disaster response mechanism was activated, and other departments were coordinated during the 2018 floods. And these were the just history. Heavy rain continued for 2 weeks, many landslides, electricity and communication was being interrupted, transportation facilities was totally interrupted, different areas of the district were isolated, and many were trapped. Houses remained underwater for many days. And these are the map where the flood has affected the state of Kerala. You can see almost all the states except Trivandrum, Kannur and Kasaragod. Some areas of Kannur has been spared by the 2018 floods. These were the impacts, and all those 1,260 villages has been affected. 687 kilometers square of lands were flooded. and over 5,000 landslides has happened in Kerala in 2018. So we have to look deeply about our mining and quarrying activities, what has gone wrong with us. And these are the effects of flood in 2018. 1260 villages has been affected. 687 kilometers were area of land are marooned, and 14,315 houses are fully damaged. 270,000 houses were partially damaged, and 751,000 poultries and 7,953 domestic animals have been lost. 3 million electric connections damaged. And these were the resources available with us: life buoys, life jackets, improvised floating devices, ropes, catering vessels. Every improvised methods have been utilized there. Bottle jacket, even the Bisleri bottles, which we throw in the garbages, have been converted into floating jackets, just tying 2-3 bottles together with a rope, and they have been attached to the torso of the people, and they are set afloat. And many plastic drums filled with air has been used as rescue mechanisms, and the big catering vessels, the cooking pots, have been used as improvised boating systems, and many improvised things have been used there. In such a way, we are able to overcome that 2018 floods. And ham radio operators, the entire police department wireless communication has come to standstill. And these amateur radio operators, ham radio operators, were very helpful to us for maintaining the communications. And vehicles and high ground clearance vehicles have been required, and many licensing works were also been carried out. Evacuations of people have been carried out from the low-lying areas. And what is the achievements for us? As we are able to save 39,866 persons directly affected by the flood, directly trapped in the flood. We are able to save 39,866 persons who have been trapped in the flood directly, and we were able to evacuate 87,571 persons. Altogether, it was a big number. And what was our hardship was 113 fire officers have been injured, and 3 suffered snake bites, and we lost several boats, vehicles, and equipments. And this is a Brahmapuram fire in 2023 March. About 110 acres of land has been used as a waste dumping yard. And this fire is each and every one of us sitting here, especially the Kochiates and the surrounding Panchayat peoples, are responsible for this. Because we have been using these plastics, we know the impact of plastics. Still, if you go to a shop and when you come back, you will have 2-3 plastic kits in your hand. You have to switch over to some biodegradable materials. We have carry bags, we have cloth bags, and still we are reluctant to use it. I remember an instance that in 2005, one of the Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary visited Thrissur Fire Station, and he was just carrying, a cloth bag. He was not reluctant to carry any, any hi-fi bags or anything like that. He was just carrying, a cloth bag. And we asked him, what is the peculiarity of cloth bag? And he just pointed out, this is the necessity of the time. If you are going to stick with these plastics or these non-biodegradable things, you are going to face a big hardship in the future. And Brahmapuram fire is a good example for it. And in Brahmapuram fire, there was 110 acres of land, different piles of plastic waste, both segregated and non-segregated. And Corona Edge has also added fuel to it, because there are a number of sanitizer bottles, half-filled, empty-filled, quarter-filled, discarded into these waste dumps. And there were a number of lithium-ion batteries from your watches, from your torches, and every other electronic equipments. And once the fire started, and everything added to the fire. They were accelerants. These sanitizers were acted as accelerants, and this lithium-ion batteries has undergone thermal runaway, and that has everything, and the climatic features, conditions also added to the Brahmapuram fire. If you want to put out a fire, a scooter fire, you need only one fire tender. But latest studies with underwriters labs of USA. We have done a workshop, and they say that if a lithium-ion battery vehicle undergoes a fire, you will have to use 24 times of water to put out that fire. So if you are using a single water tender to put out a fire for an normal vehicle, you will have to use 24 water tenders to douse a electrical vehicle fire. So think about the magnitude of the thermal runaway a lithium-ion battery causes. And the same thing will happen in such waste sites if you are not going to manage it properly, if you are not going to segregate it properly. And if these batteries undergoes thermal runaway, nothing can be done. It is under the waste piles. Water will not reach there. So that was one of the instances it was there. And there were no proper segregations. Piles of plastics. When they were under fire, the plastic has melted and has gone down, and the deep-seated fire has started. You cannot see the fire on the superficial layers, but fire has been traveling under the ground where you are standing. Even we are able to feel the heat in our legs when standing in a places where we feel it was safe. So, but that areas were not safe. After that, 2 to 3 days, the plumes and the fumes were coming out of the place where we have considered it to be moderately safe. And second thing, this sanitizer bottles, aerosol bottles, perfume bottles, discarded gas lighters. So every residents of the Kochiates and also the surrounding persons are responsible for this disaster. You cannot wash off your hands. You cannot wash off your hands, because that was the condition we saw there. We saw the ground reality. And we have put about 2,500 working men there in Brahmapuram. The strength of Kerala Fire and Rescue Service is only 4,500. More than 50% of people has been turned out to Brahmapuram fire, working round the clock, inhaling all the carcinogens, dioxins, furans, HCls, H2S, inhaling all those things. Usually, there were fires for the previous year, 2018 there were fires, but we were able to put out within 3 days. But this time, I told all those things accelerated the fire, and it went out of the control in the first 2-3 days. And these accelerants has given rise to deep-seated fires. Once deep-seated fires has happened, then there is no way of firefighting. Just lift, turn, and wet. Just lift, turn, and wet. That is the only mechanism or strategy to put out such a deep-seated fires. So, how will you be able to contain a fire with 110 acres of land filled with plastics, aerosol bottles, sanitizer bottles, lithium-ion batteries, and all those piles under fire? 70% of Brahmapuram area was under fire. And that's why, and most of the fire has been deep-seated. And that's why Kerala Fire and Rescue Service has to take 12 working days, round the clock, 2,500 peoples, 24/7 vehicles running, 6 high-pressure pumps, whatever pumps which is available with us have been employed, 650 civil defense volunteers employed there. They came selflessly to work in that Brahmapuram site, inhaling all those toxic fumes. And identifying these things and knowing these things, the authorities have declared that they are going to do surveillance, health surveillance for the fire safety people and the civil defense volunteers for the next 1 year, every monthly, because they came to know the health impact that these fumes has caused to these working people. CL people has done an excellent job. BPCL has cooperated with us. Poclane drivers, of course, we are trained, but think of that Poclane drivers or the JCB operators. They have been operated without any, they are operating that waste site without any canisters or mask. Think about your health impact. So, every one of us is responsible for this. We have rules. We have KMBR rules that flats or the villas should have a waste treatment facilities. It should be implemented. And we should adhere to this rule. We should establish a proper solid waste management system. Whatever waste we generate, it has to be segregated and processed within our house boundaries. It should be converted into some manures or something where you can use it for agriculture. Instead, if you are going to dump or practicing the same culture, I am saying we are not safe. We still live in a society where there is a false sense of security. So it's time to change. Let this be an opportunity. Take this as an opportunity. Let us change from our houses. Okay. So these are the impact. The procedure adopted was lift, turn, and wet. We have consulted with many persons because we don't know. This was the first instance. We don't know what we are doing is right or wrong. We consulted with the New York Deputy Chief itself. They told your strategy is the right thing. Only thing is that lift, turn, and wet. So this is the things. Department realized the existing capabilities, and we went for the modernization of the department. And the state government of Kerala has supported Kerala Fire and Rescue Services for the last 10 to 15 years. There is an excellent modernization of this department, and we have established that Institute of Advanced Training in Water Rescue. And before 10 years, if anyone goes to water bodies, you will have to call Indian Navy. And that was a big procedures. You will have to activate the disaster management mechanism. You will have to contract the central state, the army headquarters, bring them, and there are a lot of limitations. But now, Kerala Fire and Rescue Service Department has been trained. We don't care for any health hazards. Even one of our people has been undergone nitrogen narcosis while doing the rescue operations there in Trivandrum. He just, without any safety procedures, something has gone wrong, and he was taken into a decompression chamber there in Trivandrum, and luckily he survived. And we established the Institute of Advanced Training in Water Rescues. We have the civil defense formed in our states, special task force after the Babu incident in Palakkad, Kurumbachi mountain. We have established the special task force with 31 persons, redeployed from our state, and they have been trained in different training mechanisms. They are used to train to deep diving courses. They are trained in BSETs. They are trained in confined space entries. They are trained in basic life supports. They are trained in whatever resources, whatever trainings we are able to give them. We have trained them. So Kerala Fire and Rescue Services is now confident that it can handle any type of emergencies with this special task force. And we have the safety beat system, and we have the special team training for the water rescue, the Civil Defense Academy, and the Abada Mitra, which was a new scheme introduced in 2019 in Kerala by the Kerala State Disaster Management Academy, Disaster Management Authority. As a first phase, 200 volunteers from Kottayam district has been trained in flood rescue techniques and everything. The result was amazing, and now the central government has sponsored, and Kerala State Disaster Management Authority has come up with training, extending this Abada Mitra project around the state, and all the states are now being trained. The volunteers from all the district is being trained under Abada Mitra for handling all the emergencies related to water rescue, firefighting, and other general rescue purposes. And the special task force, and we have the Griha Suraksha program. What we see when we analyze most of the fires, if you're going to the statistics of most of the fires of Kerala Fire and Rescue Service, we see majority of the fires originate from the houses. And most of the fires are due to electrical issues or LPG related issues. So we thought it is a need of the time, and we extended our fire prevention programs to the houses of Kerala. We are going to train the ladies, the house women of Kerala families regarding the LPG safety, regarding the electrical safety, and what are the do's and the don'ts they have to adopt in case of an emergency or fire in the state. And there are a lot of instances, because of the training, there are a lot of instances that many small school kids have saved the life of their grandmother, grandfathers, and their fellow brothers and sisters because of this training, Griha Suraksha. And we have the road safety team, what I said earlier. And we have the special task force, and the innovative training methods. They have been trained in BODs, basic open water training, and we have trained them in TOT in mountaineering with ITBP. The Indo-Tibetan Border Security Police personnel from our central force has come here and trained our men for doing the mountain rescue activities. And other scheduled trainings is rope rescue training from Indian Army. Indian Army has extended the training hand to us for training them in Belgaum as well as in Arunachal Pradesh. Yes, training in Belgaum and Arunachal Pradesh to meet any exigencies related to mountaineering. But what Kerala Fire and Rescue Service see in this aspect is that our high-rise building culture of Kerala has come into existence in around 2005. So our building is aging. It is going to have some old age buildings by 2025 or 2030, and we are expecting some high-rise building fires or high-rise building collapse by 2025 and 30. And so in that aspect, we have been training this mountaineering people so that they can effect the rescue from the heights. Because it is a need of the time. Because Kerala Fire and Rescue Services is only on the way to purchase the aerial ladder platforms. You have the aerial ladder platforms on other states, but government has sanctioned us to purchase aerial ladder platforms, and it is on the way. We are expecting it in this current financial year. Still, we need people to effect rescue from high altitudes, and so that we have trained our men to do effective rescue purposes from the high altitudes, and that's the focus of doing all those rope rescue trainings. And we have trained them in advanced operational strategies and PPs. We have put our people to a temperature of about 200 degrees Celsius. We have exposed them to 200 degrees Celsius in a chamber so that they can feel the heat and they can survive in it, and they can come to your rescue at any instances, at any any challenging atmospheres. And this is the Graha Surasha things, and main objective was for the awareness on LPG and electrical fires and the importance of housekeepings. And women became aware of the, what is outcome is that women became aware of the preventive safety measures, and they were able to use the safe use of LPG and LPG cylinders in the house. And people are reviewing their electrical circuits, and they are using branded good quality electrical items after this training programs. They have switched over from the low qualities or the substandard electrical items, and they have kept away from overloading the electrical circuits. And if you go to some houses, you can see each of the electrical circuits overloaded with multiple pins and using iron boxes from one pin and mobile chargers on the other module and everything. Lot of electrical overcrowding on a single socket. And after this training program, we have experienced many of our houses has switched over into a safe electrical culture. And the safety bid systems, this is to recognize the unsafe conditions and unsafe acts happening in and around the respective wards and respond to the concerned things so that the suspecting authorities can take the timely actions to prevent another catastrophes. And we have the civil defense. About every fire stations have been inducted with 50 civil defense volunteers, and we have trained about 6,400 active civil defense volunteers, and we have a reserve of more than 10,000 people, and altogether we have a total of 16,400 trained civil defense volunteers to come for your rescue at any time without any honorarium or revenue or without any expectations. And we have the Avadamitra trainings, it's still continuing, and we have completed yesterday all the state training of Avadamitra by March 15. We have trained about 4,300 volunteers in the states. And this is the training. And what we need, we expect from this that Japan is known for their, many of them natural disasters. And it is known as land of tsunamis, and it is known as land of earthquakes, and there are best models to learn from them. And we are looking forward to learn the disaster risk reduction mitigation strategies from Japan regarding their earthquake resilience structures, tsunami DRR, and the radiologic disaster risk reduction technology. What we look into it, they have the Fukushima nuclear disaster. We do have some nuclear reactor to our nearby state. We have Kudangalam a nuclear reactor. So we have to be prepared to reach, to tackle with any of the nuclear or radiological disasters. So we do look into sharing expertises with Japan regarding this radiological disaster risk reduction techniques, earthquake resilience techniques, tsunami risk reduction tactics, and the DRR on rapid transport transit systems. Of course, we have metro rails, but Japan is known for the high speed and bullet trains. We do have be prepared. Kerala Fire and Rescue Services has to be prepared on all these items of radiological disasters, nuclear disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, and the rapid transit systems. So we are looking forward, Kerala Fire and Rescue Services is looking forward to have a good sharing of knowledge between Japan so that we can strengthen our Kerala Fire and Rescue Services to be an efficient life-saving force for Kerala State. Thank you.
My name is Hari Kumar. I work for Geohazards International, California-based organization with a regional office in Delhi, working in a few countries in the region, including India, Japan. India. We have been saying so much about Japan, but working in India, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, and other countries. So we do work before disasters. We are not into response. We like to prevent and prepare for disastrous events, and we would like to work very locally. We have local people wherever we are working in, and so just wanted to say about this session. We were to talk about best practices in disaster risk management, and the terminology we are normally used to is disaster management. We talk about disaster management, but the key word, inserted there is risk management. We are not trying to manage a disaster. Like in Brahmapuram, we were forced to manage a disaster which has happened. But what we are trying to talk here is to try and manage the risk, to reduce the risk. So when we talk about risk reduction, I always I was going through my slides and I was thinking, I have always been talking about Japan. In most of my presentations in our classes, we always cite a good example, and which inevitably happens to be Japan. And when I ask this question, I ask about when, for the audience to think about two cities which are affected by the same earthquake, and imagining that those two cities have the same population, the earthquake happens in the same time of the day. And inevitably, when I ask the question to the audience, whether they be school kids or bureaucrats, about which country do they think is the most prepared in the world, and inevitably the answer is naturally Japan. And they try to imagine what would happen if the same event, let us say a 6.8 magnitude earthquake, I'm keeping it a small earthquake, 6.8 in Japan probably would not even be noticed. Whereas here, it would fill up our newspapers the next day. So what is it that is increasing risk in our part of the world? In many of our cities, our risk is so high, whereas in any part of Japan, it would probably not even be noticed. So I'm just going to talk about a few ingredients which could actually be the cause of this risk. One is hazard. It can be an earthquake, it can be a tsunami, and we have very little control over that. But the vulnerability, it is the kind of buildings we make, mostly to do with the buildings and the structures we make, the vulnerability. Then the capacity. How capable are we, as like Sir was asking, are you aware where your exits are? How many of us walk down the stairs? When we are staying in this hotel, walk down the stairs. Do we even know where the stairs are? Because we have been using the lifts. And when the fire happens, we are not supposed to use the lifts. So the capacity to do that, the capacity of the fire services, capacity of the health services, all that adds to the capacity of the community. So that's vulnerability, then there is capacity. And these two play a very important role in increasing or decreasing the risk at a place. So vulnerability is the vulnerability of the buildings. You can see this picture from an earthquake in Gujarat. 2 buildings which went through the same test. One is on the ground, one is standing with probably no cracks even. That's a CPWD building which is standing, not the one which has fallen down. It's a private building which has fallen down. And we talk about vulnerability. This is a school. There's a signboard is all good, but there is no school there. It's because vulnerable buildings. And then you see the example from Japan. This building, which has gone through a 9+ magnitude earthquake, a tsunami went through it, deposited what looks like a ship over it, and it's still, probably with some cleaning and clearing, it will probably be functional soon. That is engineering. And that is the difference. That is the difference between our risk and what is happening in Japan. This is where Japan and India must collaborate. And we look at capacity. This is a news clipping from Afghanistan. And it can happen in any of our countries where there was an earthquake, nothing happened to the building, but children, because there was no preparedness or planning, there was no capacity, they started running, there was a stampede and girls died there. And then you hear the story, the miracle of Kamaishi, where every child in the school survived the tsunami, even though their school was affected by the tsunami. Even though they were trained to go to a nearby shelter, they took that decision. The school took that decision that no, doesn't seem to be safe, we need to go further up. Their practice, that is what they are practicing. They have already practiced it. They know how to do. And when the reality happened, this is the next picture, when the reality happened, people were following the school children. That is what capacity is. And that is what capacity is. This is where we must collaborate in building up our capacities. So the UN says that, risk at a place can be loosely defined. It's not E is equal to MC square kind of equation. It can be loosely defined as H, the hazard, into vulnerability divided by the capacity is risk at a place. We have no control over the hazard. Tsunamis will happen, earthquakes will happen. We only have control over vulnerability and capacity. And for reducing the risk, we need to bring down our vulnerabilities and increase our capacities. And that is where we must collaborate, in vulnerability reduction and in building our capacities. So disaster risk reduction, collaboration opportunities. One is understanding risk. Do we really understand our risk? When Brahmapuram was there all the time, we never even thought that this could happen and this will go on and on and on. Joshimath. People have been talking about Joshimath and the land sinking for years. Till it became catastrophic, we really didn't think much about it. We are not understanding our risk properly. That is why we are not even considering mitigation actions. So first step, understanding the risk. Second is to decrease our vulnerabilities. Let us forget the existing buildings. We have a lot of existing poorly constructed buildings, but which have been constructed without considering the hazard. We have that, but let us at least from today, if we start making better buildings which are following our code, then our vulnerability will reduce over time. And that is where we must collaborate. And building stronger buildings not only means technology, it is also to do with our regulations, building regulations and how they are enforced. All these municipalities, we have a municipality in Munnar, Panchayat in Munnar, where buildings are constructed by engineers. But don't you think they need the services of a geologist? So geologically fragile area, we are constructing without not even thinking about the geology. So these are places where we will need possible support from Japan. And we also need to look at the existing buildings. That is something we mentioned, retrofitting, making buildings stronger against future events. So that is another area where Japan has excelled. Increasing capacity, preparing to reduce the risk. And I've just listed out the ABC of the stakeholders who need assistance. It needs capacities to be built. So understanding risk, I mentioned, it is the first first priority for action in the Sendai framework. That is the first step, which according to the Sendai framework. And one of the things that Japan has done very early, as far as clearly making the risk very visible, is the formulation of disaster scenarios. Earthquake scenarios, Japan started making earthquake scenarios in the 1950s. The US started in the 1970s. We are yet to start making proper scenarios. What are scenarios? We'll quickly discuss. The scenario actually studies a town or a jurisdiction in totality and understand what can happen if X disaster strikes. And it not only looks at, many of our scenarios have been written like, if the Kangda earthquake repeats, 15,000 people will die. That kind of a scenario does not trigger any action. But if the scenario tells you, okay, the water supply line to this place is vulnerable at 3 locations. If this road is going to be blocked in 3 locations. I'm just taking the example of a city of Gangtok, capital of Sikkim. That is connected by one road to the rest of the country. One road. Highly prone to landslides. A strong earthquake will bring down many landslides. Gangtok airport is functional, often not functional. So how is India going to respond to an earthquake which strikes Gangtok? Have we really thought about all that things that can go wrong? Their water supply is half gravity fed, mostly pumped up. Electricity fails, pumping fails, a town goes without water. So that is something we did in Aizawl in Mizoram, the capital of Mizoram. We did an earthquake scenario, a risk assessment. Aizawl is very far away. It's beyond Bangladesh, almost in Myanmar. And in many occasions, I feel distance from Delhi matters. It matters. The further away, the less reach there is. Which is why, the most dangerous hill city in the country, I'm saying hill city, 4 plus lakh population, gets very little attention, but Shimla gets more attention because they are closer. People see Shimla much, much more. Aizawl is a ridge-top city. It is a city which developed against all norms. Normally, cities develop around water. Aizawl is on a ridge-top. There is no water anywhere close by. It developed around an army camp, actually. The origin was Assam Rifles camp, and the city developed around it. And it is, vulnerability. If you want to see vulnerability, you have to look at Aizawl and the buildings which are there. Every spot has been taken. If there is some landscape visible, that is because it is a cliff. The angle of slope is beyond 70 degrees. Otherwise, they will build on it. This is vulnerability. And like I said, there is no free open space. And one building coming down will bring down another 2 or 3. And the way they are constructing is like this, where you are excavating for the building, and you have knocked down the foundation of the building which is above you. You see, the foundation is on the ground there. And that person who is living above has no problem because he himself has cut the foundation of the person above him. So this is general practice. Finally, they put up, something like a Band-Aid kind of a solution, and nobody will realize it till the earthquake strikes. The scenario we did in 2013, it was quite a long work, 2 years of research, where we studied the water supply system. We studied all the roads from to Aizawl. There are 3 roads, 3 national highways. 1 airport, which seems good, but that airport is 35 kilometers from Aizawl, and that road has 2 bridges which will fall in the earthquake and actually passes through several landslides. So we found out what all can happen, and it took a lot of expertise. We had seismologists, we had geologists, we had experts on water supply lines, experts on the electricity, vulnerabilities, looking at buildings. Road engineers, disaster managers. So all together, It took a couple of years, and 2015, the results came in. And again, in that one triggered earthquake within Aizawl city itself was 1,100 landslides triggered within Aizawl in dry season. Wet season will be much more. And 1,100, they are okay to handle 1 or 2 landslides at the same time. But 1,100 landslides at the same time, the response is going to be severely tested. The power grid fails, the water supply, 100% pumped. Aizawl has 100% water supply was pumped at that point of time. That was on landslide terrain. Internal roads also landslides, blocked by landslides and building collapses. Health facilities was the main civil hospital was on a landslide, part of it will collapse. Road, anyway, the approach road will actually be blocked by certain buildings. So it was a very bleak scenario, but what the scenario did was it broke up the problems into good pieces, like the water supply. If you do A, B, C things, your water supply can be restored, can be maintained. If you do these things, your electricity will work. One road, you have 3 roads, at least one, you focus on them and make one road usable after an earthquake. So that's what they did. This is one road which they did. I mean, over the last 7 years, Aizawl has done remarkable progress. The government of Mizoram has made remarkable progress in that. They have actually regulations which no other state in the country has. They have geologists, and they actually plan to bring in geologists. They plan to create the position of a geologist, but they found it too difficult. Now they have empaneled geologists from the location, and they have 110 geologists empaneled. And any construction will have to go through the inspection by a trained geologist. And they have done tremendous in the community preparedness, in hospital preparedness, etc. So it takes a lot to work together for keeping our communities safe. Your community, they have their preparedness plans, the health facilities have to work, the supplies have to be there, the built environment has to be better. So there are lots and lots of things which have to go through together before a community can really be prepared. If we are aiming to, at least, not catch up with Japan, that is too far away, but at least aim for that, then we need to start with a comprehensive picture. And I see so many opportunities to collaborate with Japan, especially in the vulnerability reduction field and also in the capacity building field. I'll end here, and I'll say let us hope we can have safer communities and a lot more working together in really, really hazard-prone areas of the country. We look forward to working closely with JICA and the government of Japan. Thank you so much.
I'm a bit nervous, after such enthusiastic presentation, and then I'm the last person to, thank you. Yeah, I'm the last person today, and thank you very much for the audience still sitting there, and please bear with me for more 10 to 15 minutes. And then before starting my presentation, I'd like to appreciate CPPR and the Consulate General of Japan in Chennai for inviting JICA and choosing this disaster risk management topic for this prestigious conference. And yes. And then today, I'd like to explain about who we are, what is JICA briefly. Some of you may not know much about us, and also what we are doing in India. And then I'd like to introduce 2 projects that we are implementing in India. And actually, Dr. Kumar and also in the previous session, Professor Gitanjali Roy touched upon the the community preparedness for the disaster risk management. And today I will focus on India issue. And then I think that's a good sign for India, Japan can collaborate better, we knowing each other better. So then probably in the last session, I may share some idea of India-Japan collaboration through JICA projects. So what is JICA? As you are aware, JICA is the Japan International Cooperation Agency. We are a governmental agency of Japan that coordinates official development assistance. And we have 3 schemes, mainly working on 3 schemes, which is ODA loan, soft loan, sovereign loan, and then grant aid, and technical cooperation. And actually, the first ODA loan to India was provided in 1958. So we have 65 years of history here in India. And this is the very overall JICA's operation in India. And as you can see, for India, our main activities is soft loan, providing soft loan. And then accumulated commitment by fiscal year 2021 reached to Japanese yen 6.9 trillion. And then it's equivalent to over 4 lakh crore Indian rupees. And then only 2021 year only, the JICA committed Japanese yen more than 300 billion. And then it's also equivalent to 18,000, more than 80,000 crore Indian rupees. So you can see, how big our operation is in India. And then our main focus for India currently is, you can see transportation, the dark blue part, and then we are doing water, energy, agriculture and forestry, health, and then unfortunately disaster risk management falls into others. But actually we don't have any loan project for disaster risk management, so this is still new area of assistance from JICA to India. And then maybe I can skip that, but anyway, Japan has the assistance policy to India, and then that follows the development agenda of India. So we are trying to support the fulfillment of development agenda of India through our projects. And then just to give you some image, these are the project map in energy sector, and in these water sector. So probably you can imagine, our projects are implemented in almost all states, not all, but almost, most states in India. And then I'd like to talk about the specific projects. And then the first one is the slope management in Uttarakhand. This is the technical cooperation project. And then started in 2017, and then it will complete in 2024. And the project purpose is to establish system that enables appropriate implementation of erosion control works for slope disaster management in the forest area in Uttarakhand. So this project, discussion for this project has started after the Uttarakhand had suffered in severe landslides in 2013. And then at that time we were discussing to start one forest projects in Uttarakhand, and then the Uttarakhand Forest Department and JICA discussed and agreed to add one disaster management component into the forestry project. So this is the one. And the expected outputs are the technology for erosion control is developed, and then knowledge and skills on erosion control is transferred to Uttarakhand Forest Department. And also, the slope management technology, of course, we will adapt to the Japanese one, but it needs to be adapted to the Indian context. So again, appropriate technology to be developed for erosion control especially for India and then in Himalayan states. So we, through this project, there are some trainings conducted, on-site training, off-site training, and in the project produced some guidelines for erosion control works, and also some slope disaster location map is created. And then this is Uttarakhand state. So as shown in, the project strategically selected 3 model sites to apply Japanese slope management technology. And this slope management technology is called Chisan. I will explain about it later a little bit more. And then Japanese experts are dispatched from Forestry Agency of Japan, and then Japanese experts from Forestry Agency and also experienced consulting firms are closely working with state forest departments, and then also with contractor to establish the basis of slope management through the construction of these 3 model sites. And then I will show the kind of an image of this model site. And you can see that, of course, some landslides happened before. And then, as you can see, there is a road just beneath the slope. So once these landslides happened, of course, the road is blocked. And then, of course, the movement of people and then goods are suspended. So these are the photo of sites. You can see the steep, slope of the area. And then also this is another site. You can see, the vegetation were also, ripped off, because of the landslides. And this is also another. So this site, the slope is quite, severe. And then to conduct this slope management work itself also is quite dangerous, actually. And then, so these are also other sites to be done through the technique of this project. And then, so this is the image of Chisan. Chisan means settling the mountain in Japanese. And then it is quite effective nature-based solution development in Japan. And then actually Japan and India, the Japan has been and is living with all kinds of natural disaster risks, such as heavy precipitation with frequent occurrence of typhoon, earthquake. Actually, earthquake, almost 20% of over magnitude of 6.0 earthquakes in the world happen in Japan. And also active volcanoes. We have more than 100 active volcanoes in Japan. And then actually Japan's land covers is only 0.3%. But 7% of the world active volcanoes sit in Japan. So then you can see how frequent the natural disaster happen in Japan. And I skip the details of this the technology, but it is the methods to utilize the forest function to protect and stabilize the slope by restoring damaged vegetation. So it is quite cost effective from the long-term perspective, and then we believe it can be well adapted in India, especially Himalayan region, and probably in Kerala also. As these are mentioned that you have suffered floods and landslides every year. And then this is the second project that I'd like to talk. It's about the urban flood control project in Chennai. So this is to assist Tamil Nadu government and then Chennai government to establish the comprehensive flood control master plan for the urban floods. And then this is the 2-year project, just started last year. And then we are entering stage 2. We have completed some basic study and data collection last year, and we are now entering development of the master plan itself. And then what I'd like to, this is the area of the coverage of under this project. And then, of course, this is showing that, Chennai is rapidly growing in terms of economic and also the number of populations. And then due to that, urbanization and land use has been significantly changed compared to, in these 20 years. And in this project also, how can I say, started after this Chennai floods in 2015. Probably you may have heard about it. And then what is quite, and then, when we started the project, we recognize some, flood management challenges in flood management. There are, lack of integration of riverine flood control and stormwater drainage management, rapid urbanization and land use change, and challenges of securing water resources for drinking water as a priority in dam. So you cannot control the dam only for the flood management purpose. And lack of observation and poor gauged basins, and scattered flood control plans for each segment or river by different stakeholders with no comprehensive approach or integrated master plan. And then lack of a high resolution flood hazard map. So to tackle with these challenges, what we are trying to do through this project is to make comprehensive master plan from upstream to downstream, considering all flood types, including fluvial and pluvial floods. And also developing a flood control master plan based on the natural characteristics of river basin and local conditions. And then another important part is to combine the proposed flood control master plan into the overall urban development master plan. So now Chennai metropolitan area is trying to, now it's preparing the third urban development master plan, and then we will incorporate the flood control master plan into the urban development master plan. So, and then to do so, also another important issue is to enhance the coordination among different stakeholders, and then proper communication and data sharing. So, to realize that, we have selected several counterparts. Actually, this is very unique. Usually, JICA projects has only one counterpart, only one executing agency. But, again, to make comprehensive flood control master plan, we are now working with Tamil Nadu State Disaster Risk Reduction Agency, the State Disaster Management Authority, and also Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority, and then Tamil Nadu State Water Resource Department, and then Greater Chennai Corporation. So maybe I will skip this. And with these counterparts, we have formed 4 task teams, and each led by the each agency. I mean, for example, task team 1 is dealing with flood disaster risk management, and then led by State Disaster Management Authority. And then they are reviewing the existing flood management at different stages, like pre, during, and after floods, and development to develop the institutional matrix for disaster management cycle. And then task team 2 is led by Water Resource Department, State Water Resource Department, and who is responsible for river management. So this task team is discussing on riverine flood management. And then task team 3 is responsible for urban flood and drainage, and then led by GCC, Greater Chennai Corporation, and they are responsible for urban area flood management and drainage management. And then task team 4 is led by CMDA, and the CMDA is responsible for drafting and compiling the master plan. So it is this task team 4 will compile all the outcome, submitted from other task teams. So this is the like structure of project implementation. And then I believe, as far as I know, there was no such project before. So far, thanks to the strong leadership and commitment of State Disaster Management Authority, this structure works really well. And then we believe that this is going to be a very good example to reduce the urban flood and also manage the urban flood issue in other cities as well. So maybe I will skip this. So we will come up with several projects to control all the flow of water to prevent the urban flood happening in Chennai. So again, as already quickly mentioned, we'd like to share the practice of this project to other cities, and then maybe these are the message from this project to other cities. And then I have several ideas of India-Japan collaboration through JICA projects, and then I put some domestic, regional level, and international level. And for the domestic level, as we are doing many projects, so we have lots of lessons learned or good practice. So not in disaster risk management sector, but for other sectors, we have done several joint initiatives to share the project lessons and best practice to other states, cities, or organizations that have similar characteristics of needs and challenges, and probably that can motivate them and then expand effective system and measures. And also, Japan has the special focus on development of the northeastern region. So we'd like to make partnership with focal and leading organizations in the region, and probably we can set up some professional training hub to expand the outcome to the states in the region. Usually, again, we will do the projects with one state or one organization or one city. But maybe through this function, maybe we can expand the outcome effectively. And then maybe connecting private sector, maybe we will talk about data. And then at the international level, like the first project for the slope management, we are doing this project in Uttarakhand, Himalayan region. So of course, Himalaya sits both on India and Nepal. And then we have office and projects in Nepal, of course. So we are trying to conduct some mutual visit or mutual learning opportunity between two countries. And then also Northeast region, it's quite close to Bangladesh, Myanmar, so we may be able to come up with some third country training kind of thing. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to open the stage for Q&A sessions from the audience. We are in short of time, so I would like to make your questions very brief and short. We would like to conclude it in 15 minutes.
My name is Jose Deepak and I'm from MG University. So my question is to Reni Luko sir. Actually, I would like to admire him for his efforts and his team's effort to douse that, Herculean task of dousing the fire, and it was marvelous, sir. So my question is that I'm also a citizen of Kochi and I'm also responsible for this, this disaster. So if we are saying that citizens are only responsible for this disaster, we are missing a major part. What about the governance error that happened in this, Brahmapuram incident? Considering the, waste management performance of Indore and Kakinadu, we are lacking very behind to those places. The governance system is not functioning very well. We can see that if we are comparing with those places. And the very so-called literate people of India is missing an aspect of waste management when it comes to the functional aspect. And I would also like to ask, despite having those rules which mandate the high-rise flats to have waste management system, why our authorities are giving them the permission to have or to build that flat. So that's a governance issue. That's a governance failure. And who is responsible to what we can say, to manage or to dispose those wastes? It is not the people, it's the government authorities and all. And we are not responsible to make the government to build a waste dump yard in Brahmapuram. That is very centralized. So in papers, the waste management is very decentralized. But when it comes to practice, it is very centralized. So I think we also need to mention the governance issues that is very persistent. And I would address that we are only talking about these issues on the advent of or after occurring a disaster. So these are my concerns.
Sir, one question. It also involves the very same kind of things. I really appreciate your team's efforts in controlling the fires at Brahmapuram, but you cannot accuse citizens for any share of moral responsibility for this issue, because all these waste has been collected by the state through the machineries, through the guidelines that what they are supposed to do with these kind of waste. So, moreover, the whole point, it took 12 days. You called in the Navy, you called all the state's resources. It took a dozen days. That is not a model, an apt model to be followed in the future. It shows the lack of what we can say, lack of scenarios, lack of disaster scenarios, and the inadequacy of your department in handling such a colossal crisis. Can you comment on that?
We have KMBR, Kerala Municipal Building Rules, and Kerala Panchayat Building Rules. And there the rule envisages this, all those buildings should have the waste management systems. And it should be implemented. And we can see a lot of the rainwater harvesting tanks. You have these things in your flats. So before sanctioning this thing, it will be there in place. And after that, do we take the responsibility to maintain these things? For example, for the rainwater harvesting tanks. No, we are just diverting from the actual use. Okay, first thing. Second thing is that it is envisaged in the rules, and the primary member of our society is one, and we are the primary members of the society. So we have the primary responsibilities to segregate the waste, to manage the waste within our boundaries. And of course, every mechanism, every stakeholders has their own responsibilities. So, and from the fair point of view, I am saying that we should have a good waste segregation mechanisms. The other thing, I cannot comment that because it is not under my departmental purview. First thing. Second thing is that what makes man perfect? Experience makes man's perfect. So what makes experience perfect? Can you say what makes experience perfect? Learning from the mistakes. So you have to learn from your mistakes so that your experience makes perfect, so your society becomes safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have a question for Noriko-san. In your slide, there were many excellent suggestions, and maybe we can discuss later. But there was a specific term called Sunaguru Lab. So maybe it means connecting in Japanese. Can you elaborate a bit more on that, please?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Sorry, I intentionally skipped that part because I was expecting the question. Yes, JICA is of course the bilateral donor agency. So most of the projects go through the government, but at the same time, we are also trying to promote some private sector activities, and of course we have the scheme to provide loan to private sector, and also we are providing fund to conduct some survey when Japanese companies like to start some new business or new new business in India. And in addition to that, JICA India is launched JICA India has launched the SDG Business Co-Creation Lab, and then it is called Tsunagaru Lab, and Tsunagaru means connection in Japanese. So we have launched the online platform to connect Japanese companies and Indian companies, and then we know that there are so many good social entrepreneurs in India, and then they have some needs to connect with new technology or new idea, and also Japanese side is looking for good partners in India, and then sometimes it's difficult to find such a partner. So JICA India office would like to support those companies both in India and Japan. And so this is an online-based platform. So of course I'm happy to share the link, and then you can access anytime. And of course, I'm not the person in charge for that scheme, but I can connect you with my colleague also. Thank you very much.
Well, it's not really a question, but it's a question in a sense, a practical question to Noriko-san about the JICA's activities. I mean, of course, JICA has done a lot of work in India, but I do think that, you see, much of the work that the JICA does has not given that kind of appreciation or kind of visibility to the Indian people. Perhaps a little more awareness about the JICA activities is much appreciated. Well, my question is basically, as you mentioned about so many projects, say for example, somebody who in the society or the community, how does this process of approaching JICA in terms of taking up a project? I mean, how do you identify a particular project, which is how to work it out, and it's basically the practical aspect of the process of identifying a project. I mean, you say somebody have a project identified which is required of the local situation. So how do we reach out to you, or how does that process work? And if you could explain that, I would be grateful.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. And then it's quite technical issue, then it's going to be a long explanation. Probably I can speak to you later. But yeah, and then thanks for the pointing out that our projects are not so well maybe aware by the Indian people. That's because of maybe we need to work more harder to on the publicity side. We are trying to do the Facebook post and then and also website, and then but still we will work more. But in any case, for the access to the JICA, of course, you can communicate with JICA office anytime. Really, we are open the window to everyone. So probably you can Google JICA India, and then there is a phone number and also the email address, so you can reach out anytime. And for the project formulation, as I mentioned, the JICA is a bilateral government agency. So basically, all the projects are based on the official request from the Indian government. So basically, if you have any project idea, what I can say at this moment is please approach to the probably municipal government, district government, or state government to start. Or of course, our office, our JICA India office, and then our staff are very happy to support such communication between you and the government, if that helps.
Thank you. I'm R.P. Pradhan. JICA, I'm reasonably familiar. I have written also something on this. And as far as India is concerned, I think every province of India at least have several JICA projects that are happening. And developing countries like India, our disasters are all critically man-made, greed, and government participates in that. There's a lot of malgovernance, that's what. So I don't have that kind of a question. Rather, my question is that when you look forward, 20 years down the line, wonderful ideas and processes you talked about, if at all they can be sampled and curriculum is created out of it, and maybe it can be taken to the schools where we can talk to the children. This is what is a disaster, and this is how you can prevent your parents to be, possibly. That's one way of it. I think in my institute also, my department also, some faculties are teaching disaster management. I'm not aware, whether they're familiar. So mine is an engineering institute, and maybe some of these issues are directly to people, societies, to all of us. And some of them can be, created as a course curriculum, and taken to the institutes where, it spreads. I think that's where I think the larger consciousness can happen. So if at all any such, initiative, I think JICA also can, make it a international program.
Thank you very much. We are also working not only with government, but we are working with NGOs or academia or private sectors. So through those partnership, we like to share Japanese our way of like a disaster risk management at the community level. Since we have been suffering from many disasters almost every year, we are very experienced, and then we have the such system that maybe small children know better than the adults about what you should do after when you feel the shake. So that kind of of course the how can I say practice we are very happy to share. We'd like to share. So any suggestion will be welcome, and then we like to explore any possibilities for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So I would like to conclude the session by giving my concluding remarks. So it was really great to hear from the three eminent experts who are working in disaster risk reduction. And we have gone from earthquake to fire to landslides and floods. We have covered different disasters in this session, actually. And also, one thing which we could learn from these presentations is that one is how we, as an individual, how we must learn to manage waste within ourselves, individually in our own home. And also, apart from that, it was very interesting to see how much sustainability and inclusive rural growth plays in creating a robust disaster risk management framework, which we have seen through JICA's contribution and different projects they have done, and how much important technical cooperation, citizen partnership, and public-private partnership alongside played a huge role in disaster management. And also, apart from that, with the presentation of Dr. Hari Kumar, we must, and it is important really important to understand the risk first, where we have neglected two cases. One is Brahmapuram and another one is the Joshimath issue, and how much important it is for understanding disaster scenario, where we have a lot to learn from Japan, and how we have to increase the capacity and reduce the vulnerabilities. So thank you all the audience for your time and attention. With this, I conclude this session.
Thank you, Neelima. The discussions were excellent and gave us fresh perspectives on disaster management. I now invite Mr. J. Paul Sakria from CPPR to give a token of appreciation to the chair and the panelists. I request Ms. Neelima A. to come forward and receive the token of appreciation from Mr. J. Paul Sakria. I welcome Dr. Hari Kumar, Regional Coordinator of South Asia, Geohazards International. Thirdly, I welcome Noriko Sakurai-san, Project Formulation Advisor, JICA India. Next, I would like to welcome Mr. Reni Lucas and receive the token of appreciation from Mr. J. Paul Sakria.